So the biggest mystery of Stardew Valley is figuring out what this man is looking at. When some of us buy a video game, or perhaps a product in general, we tend to question the morality of said purchase. This work of art took a lot of people to make, and often they are not put in the best positions. While it isn't surprising to see a poor product come from chaotic work conditions that rush employees, sometimes some of the best games ever made come from development crunch or bad work environments, as unfortunate as it is that it had to come to that. All because a higher-up paid them to have their vision realized with little creative freedom. While a team can be motivated to realize a vision to prove the world what they're capable of, there are just as many cases where we do the things we do in modern life just to stay alive. Let me ask you a question. If you're constantly working away at something you don't like with very little free time, are you truly enjoying life? Each individual person has ambitions, creativity, stories to tell, and memories that they hold very dearly to them. We only have this life once. Instead of fueling someone else's ambitions, why not express our own? Make the most of the time that we have. I certainly can't speak for everyone, as they have their own independent view of life and how they enjoy it, and that's what makes humanity special. Is there a game out there that embodies this way of looking at life? To value your time and memories how you desire instead of fueling someone else's bank account as their underling? Well, I certainly have an answer for that. Stardew Valley is a game entirely created by one person. ConcernedApe designed, composed, wrote, and programmed the entire game, a true showcase of heart and ambition. When you create your character and design your farm on a fresh Stardew Valley save file, the game opens with your grandfather passing away as he hands you a letter as a parting gift. He doesn't want you to open it now, though, as he desires that you open it when you grow tired of the depressing weight of the corporate landscape. Allegedly, over a decade later, your character has had enough of working for an exhausting and messy company, and so they decide to open the letter. This is a message that he wrote for this moment for you in the present. He came to this exact same realization that he hasn't been living life to his fullest. Is life really about trying to survive as long as we can? Or is it about making real connections with people, forming experiences and memories that you'll never forget, and thriving in a loving community? By now he hopes that you think the latter is the desirable case. He tells you about how he dropped everything and moved to the place he'd spend his new life in, the open farm in Stardew Valley, and suggests you head there to start your new and hopefully exciting life. Without hesitation, you hop on the bus and immediately head to Stardew Valley to not only honor the family name, but to explore what life is really about. With that, our bright new life begins, an adventure of its own. I'm Ryder, and you're listening to a Stardew Valley retrospective. Arriving in the next chapter of your life can sometimes seem a little scary, and in this case, it kind of is. Stardew Valley's local carpenter, Robin, shows you to your new home that has a messy exterior, to say the least. Luckily, you are given the tools right away that are necessary to clean up a bit of the mess and gather a few resources to help aid your farm. And Mayor Lewis shows you the bin next to your house that you can drop items into to sell for money, so you can start making bank the second you begin. The potential for your farm is massive right from the start, as you have a lot of land to work with, but the game does a nice job of easing you into things with the quests that become available to you once you start playing. There's a quest asking you to meet all the residents of Stardew Valley to get to know the characters, and a quest easing you into the farm mechanics by planting and growing some crops, or harvesting an egg from your animals. There's a lot to do, but it doesn't feel overwhelming, and the game giving you a checklist of characters to meet will get you familiar with all the NPCs. Another reason the first day isn't overwhelming in Stardew Valley is due to two key limiters: time and your character's energy. An hour in Stardew Valley lasts 42 seconds in real time, and every day you will wake up at 6 a.m. and you can do whatever you want until 2 a.m. at the latest. If you don't go to bed by 2 a.m., you'll pass out where you stand, and if you're outside your home, you'll be robbed of some cash the next day. As overwhelming as this time limit may seem, you are also physically limited in many aspects thanks to the energy meter. Using most tools like chopping with the axe, digging with the hoe, watering with the watering can, mining with the pickaxe, or fishing with the fishing pole will deplete your energy bit by bit, and that meter will drain fast if you're messing with your farm a bunch when you first start out, since you don't start with a lot of energy. If you completely run out, you'll pass out where you stand, similar to letting the clock run out. While it may seem stressful having to manage time and energy, it does help each day to not feel like such a daunting list of tasks, and you can play things out as they are. It surprisingly isn't possible to finish either the introductions or getting started quest on the first day, so the first day helps serves as a means to get you familiar with the world of Stardew Valley, and to prepare for the next few days as you get some crops planted on your farm after buying them from either Pierre's or Joja Mart. The next day is likely when you'll have time to finish the first two quests and start building your farm. Building your farm in Stardew Valley is rewarding in numerous ways. For one, it is aesthetically pleasing to have a large farm with a variety of plants and crops growing, making the farming itself a satisfying pleasure. It is financially beneficial, so you can sell your grown crops to make a ton of money to buy decorations, house upgrades, extra buildings for more farming options like rice milling and animal breeding, or you could, of course, buy more crops to make even more money. If neither of those sound like a good thing to do with the farming you put effort into, you could always eat the crops, which is actually beneficial in certain situations because there's a large amount of food items by cooking, buying them, or farming that you can eat to replenish energy and health. Of course, farming isn't limited to just growing crops. While it does cost a hefty amount of money and materials, you can get coops and barns to raise animals. Harvest eggs from chickens in the coop and gather milk from cows in the barn, and taking good care of them by feeding them and showing them your affection will cause them to create better quality produce that sells for more money. Well, you can get more buildings for your farm, like sheds for extra storage, a well for refilling your watering can, a fish pond for fish produce, to even a horse stable that comes with a free horse to dart across the valley at higher speeds with. You can also upgrade your barn and coop from big all the way to deluxe size to house more animals and newer types of animals. Ducks, goats, rabbits, sheep, pigs. There are also extras that aren't available for purchase that you can find a way to raise. All of these each have their own kind of produce that can be used in numerous different ways, like some mayonnaise out of the eggs or cheese out of the milk, and of course cloth out of wool. Stardew Valley, no matter how you choose to use it, rewards your farming skills very handsomely, and yet it is only a portion of what you can do in this game. On the second day, a character named Willy will give you a fishing pole so you can engage in the art of fishing. And an art, it definitely is. Most games with fishing mechanics have a fairly standard system for catching. Cast a line and push the button when there's a bite. That's about it. Not the case with Stardew Valley. The game makes a great effort to make each task you choose to do fun and rewarding. Fishing is like its own little game here, as you cast a line, wait for a bite, and then feel the intensity of reeling in the fish as you need to ensure that the green bar is behind the fish icon. It isn't complex or tedious, but also isn't too simplistic as to remain boring, and I often find myself spending entire days dedicated to fishing. I find it enjoyable casting for all kinds of fish to build a collection or to sell for decent money. No matter what activity you do in Stardew Valley, you're always building towards something in reach, whether it be a large upgrade or a minuscule item. Its sense of progression is admirable. Each new day is exciting to wake up to, as a number of events can happen overnight. For one, all items you put in the drop box are tallied at the end of every day, showing the amount of money you made overnight, enlisting excitement as to what you can use that money for the next day. And sometimes something interesting could mysteriously happen in the middle of the night, like how an earthquake can happen and destroy the rubble that blocked the path to the railroads, or even a witch that could swing by your farm and drop a mysterious new animal in your coop, making you go, "Oh well, shoot, now I have to keep playing." There are so many moments like that in this game, and it's what has kept me up late so many nights playing this. Fancy stuff doesn't just happen overnight though. Certain days throughout the season are dedicated to special events that play out as key moments throughout the year. These special events usually give the player unlimited time wherever the event takes place at, allowing full exploration of everything said event has to offer, like its shop or all the interactions you can have with Pelican Town's residents. The first major event is the Egg Festival, where everyone is gathered to have egg-based foods, there's Easter decorations, and it concludes with a fun egg hunt minigame where you have to collect the most amount of eggs throughout Pelican Town before time runs out, and the person with the most amount of eggs wins. In a way, it tests your familiarity with Pelican Town early on by testing your navigational skills. It's a fun little break from taking care of the farm, and I won a straw hat out of it, so it was rewarding for successfully participating, that's for sure. The next event that comes along is the Fabled Flower Dance, an event where love blossoms as you decide who you want to dance with. All of the single NPCs are nervous as they're about to make their moves to dance with a specific individual. No one with a relationship status lower than 4 hearts with you will be willing to dance. However, if you have been friendly enough to a compatible NPC, you can actually dance with them and boost your friendship with them further. A nice, fun, yet silly event to round out the season with. It's a hot new season, and all the crops you were growing have perished, which only means one thing. Pierre's about to make a ton of money. Those crops you've grown and the fish you caught in spring likely earned you enough money to upgrade your inventory space via the 2 backpack upgrades at Pierre's, and even start raising some animals via the coops, barns, and other structures you can pay Robin with materials and money to build for you anywhere on your farm, turning your simple home into a landmark in Stardew Valley. The first spring is there to familiarize yourself with the game and its world, so you'll likely have missed a few important items your first playthrough. But in this new season, where you have a fresh start, you'll have a lot more knowledge on what you need to make money efficiently, and that will especially help out for Stardew Valley's main progression quest, the Community Center. Early on in the game, there's a cutscene where you and Mayor Lewis take a look at the abandoned Community Center. A place once thriving with activity has turned into a rusty old warehouse ever since a JojaMart unit entered Pelican Town. A bunch of tiny creatures named Junimos roam the place for a mysterious reason. They left a scroll behind in the crafts room with a language unable to be read, but the next day the wizard will call you over to his tower to understand exactly what's going on, and he has you drink a mysterious liquid from his cauldron, allowing you to become one with the forest and understand what's on the scrolls. Going back and reading the scroll shows that you need to donate items to several different bundles in order to restore that part of the community center. Some of these bundles are simple asks, but other bundles will feature items that you've never seen before, making you question how to get them. No matter the case, the spring foraging bundle is what I usually complete first, since all it asks of you is to get all the types of foraging items that can spawn in random locations on the map. Once you complete a bundle, 1 or 2 more scrolls will appear in different areas throughout the community center until all 6 are available. Revealing each scroll one by one is helpful since it creates a natural urge to go ahead and complete another bundle to see what else the game will ask of you. A scroll may ask for a season's crops, a collection of fish, materials from mining, items related to a character, and even just loads of cash. Funding's gotta be made somehow. Completing any bundle also rewards you with an item that is usually either really useful in some way or an item with a large quantity given to you. Despite the idea of what item you'll need for the community center next being an effective push on what direction you should go in next, there's a number of other ways the game will nudge you to go explore the path that you can get said items on. Aside from the getting started and introductions quests, there are numerous other quests that you can take on seemingly all the time. On certain set days, you can receive mail from one of the many characters that will sometimes ask something of you for a reward in return. These are usually quests that usually benefit the character in some way, and are done without a time limit. Stuff like bringing Pam a pail of ale, finding Robin's missing axe, or retrieving the mayor's shorts from a particularly suspicious place. Other quests will usually be posted up on the board where Pierre's is. These are short and simple quests that need to be done under a time limit, usually around a day or two. These don't offer much payment as a reward, but they can help boost friendship levels with the NPCs based around said quests, much like any other quest related to a character. And in the most recent update, the mayor now offers special tickets for certain quests to encourage you to do them even if the pay outcome is low, and you can put them into this prize machine that can give useful items, like mystery boxes, special items, or even tree saplings. Later on, you can unlock the bulletin board near the mayor's house that will give you more advanced quests that have a much longer time limit, some even being able to take up the entire season. While these quests are far more time-consuming, they not only offer a much higher pay outcome, but will even result in a cutscene for them upon completion, showing how your work has helped them. And you'll often receive something else in return, like a special kind of bait from Willy. This all may seem unrelated to the community center, and yeah, it kind of is, but quests can be a fascinating teaching tool on how to obtain certain items or complete certain tasks effectively, and can sometimes lead you to an item you may need for the community center. Completing every bundle in a scroll is truly euphoric. Not only is said part of the community center restored to its former glory, not only are you granted a golden star right above the fireplace as this heavenly music piece plays celebrating your accomplishment, but the scroll completion will restore a part of Stardew Valley itself outside of the community center thanks to the Junimos. And these are majorly effective fixes too. I always go straight towards completing the boiler room first, as finishing that grants the repairs of the minecarts, which sort of act as fast travel points between the bus stop, town, mines, and the quarry area that is unlocked by completing the crafts room to restore the bridge over the cliff near the mines. Completing the bulletin board will grant numerous friendship points across most NPCs in Stardew Valley. Worried about how much time you have left to plant seeds in a season? While obtaining the greenhouse grants a space containing over 100 tiles where you can plant any seed you want, no matter the season. I am unstoppable with this starfruit farm mixed with quality soil watered by iridium sprinklers. Speaking of starfruit, one of the most profitable fruits in the game, repairing the vault by giving it over 40,000 gold will fix the bus, allowing you to go to the desert containing numerous things to do there, one of which I will discuss later. But the desert has a shop called the Oasis that sells a number of useful items, including starfruit seeds for 400 gold, meaning I will make a massive profit after selling these fruits when they've grown. And since I am under a greenhouse that is unaffected by the season, I will always be getting a profit no matter what happens. You have no idea how exploitive the farmer is in this game. I almost feel sorry. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll be maxing the upgrade of my house. Oh, and lastly, repairing the fish tank will get rid of the glittering boulder in the river to the cave, which causes ores to be able to be scooped up in rivers. I don't do this much myself, but you can occasionally get some really solid materials from this, so it's worth checking out. There isn't really any form of mainline progression in the game, but the community center is definitely one of the most symbolic forms of your progress in the game. And discovering all these objects to donate to the community center to restore parts of Stardew Valley back to their former glory really immerses you into becoming a real part of the town. Or you could just give in to consumerism. Yeah, after learning the ins and outs of the community center, you're also given the route to go buy a Joja membership, which prompts the mayor to sell the building to Joja Co. Taking this route puts you along the same path of restoring every part of Stardew Valley, but instead of gathering materials for the job, you just buy all the fixes with money. Granted, it costs a pretty penny to do all of these, but if you prefer tying game progression to making fat stacks of cash like in Animal Crossing, then boy is this the route for you. What I like about being able to do this is that despite the head of this Joja shop being a greedy, self-promoting jerk, it isn't presented to you as the morally incorrect route should you choose to go down it. Yeah, Joja Co. is a greedy corporation and they suck, but the game doesn't go out of its way to shame you for choosing to work for the company. You aren't this evil person for doing this guy's bidding. I mean, after all, some of the NPCs in Pelican Town even work for this company. People gotta make money in whatever way they can, and that's okay. That being said, I still vastly prefer the regular community center route since I enjoy gathering all the materials needed for the bundles, and in a way, it serves as a nice tutorial for how to do some of the more complex things in the game. Plus, I'm the kind of guy that likes being part of a community rather than making as much bank for myself as possible. It appears I have gotten sidetracked completing this community center. Why is this a problem? Because the luau is starting at the beach. The luau is a festive feast with dancing, totems, loads of food, and a big giant soup pot in the middle that the governor is going to do an honorable taste test of. This soup is not just for show though, as you'll be notified early on in the summer that you'll need to bring a good ingredient to drop into the soup, and depending on what you drop in there will affect the governor and mayor's opinion of said soup. Say, for example, you drop a grape in there and the governor finds it to be completely average, but if you dip a cauliflower in there, he'll be very pleased, and the better the soup, the more friendship points you gain throughout everyone in the town who eats said soup. So there's good incentive to put something solid in there. Not literally solid though, don't you dare think about dropping the mayor's shorts in there. You sick weirdo. However, as fun as summer can be in the moment, time moves just as quickly. The Dance of the Moonlight Jellies is the first event to take place at night. Fitting too, as it's the event where many reminisce on everything they've done over the summer and come here to send off the season by sending this lantern across the sea to attract the glowing moonlight jellies. This is one of my favorite events, as the whole community comes together to share one last beautiful sight. The ocean glows bright around the pier, and as the year reaches its half point, the moonlight jellies wander off into the deep unknown to explore their next chapter. The scent of mushrooms grow, the plants shrivel to red, and the crops die out once more as a new season has arrived. Why not take a second to buy a bunch of pumpkins? It is fall after all. I may also be saying that because each season has one type of crop that, once 9 have been simultaneously grown on a 3x3 grid, have a small chance of combining together to form a large version of said crop. And there is nothing else I'd rather wake up to in this game, as smashing it with an axe gives you way more of said crop than you initially planned. It is so satisfying. Pierre, I think I'm the farm business around here now. Now give me all your stock, how else am I going to make money? As I've shown, there are a variety of things to do in Stardew Valley. Fishing, farming, foraging, building the community center, all things that are shared very commonly throughout farming games and other life simulators like Animal Crossing. But aside from the way time flows being far more binge-friendly than life simulators like Animal Crossing, there is one other activity that separates Stardew Valley from the rest of the bunch to make it a far more compelling experience. Mining. You can start mining fairly early on, as the boulder blocking the cave gets destroyed on day 5 of spring, and since it's dangerous inside of these caves, you're given a sword to fend off enemies? Yeah, as uncommon as it is for these types of games, Stardew Valley has combat. It isn't very deep combat, of course, but the way it's integrated makes it compelling. As one would expect for mining, you delve into caves to gather ore, stone, and other different kinds of shiny gems that are worth a pretty penny or can be donated to the museum for viewing pleasure and rewards. What makes mining engaging is that the way you progress through each cave is akin to a dungeon crawler, as you'll be mining a number of rocks to try to find the ladder that leads down to the next floor. And its placement is completely random. As you descend deeper and deeper, you'll plunge into new layers of the cave as better ores become more common and different enemy types approach. Luckily, every 5 floors grants you a checkpoint elevator, so there's a risk-reward element to either staying in the cave to try to reach the next checkpoint to catch the next floor another day, or play it safe and not pass out or become fatally injured. Speaking of which, losing all your HP is by far the worst way to go out in Stardew Valley. Not only are you charged a decent amount for your hospital bill, but you'll lose a few items from your inventory, and which items you lose are completely random, meaning you could lose a whole stack of a useful material or even a really good weapon. And the only way to get it back is by paying the head of the Adventurers Guild to go back down and retrieve said item for you. Do whatever you can to not lose all your health, even if that means passing out instead. At least there you're only charged of a little bit of money. But as I said earlier, the good thing is that the combat itself is not very deep, so it's simple to understand. There aren't many different classes for combat in this game, like say Terraria for example. You'll mostly be fighting enemies in this game how you would in a 2D Zelda game like A Link to the Past, swiping your sword at enemies until their health is gone and whatnot. The deepest this game's combat gets is having different melee weapon types. There's the standard sword that swings quickly, although you can block incoming attacks with swords, minimizing the damage and actually causing a counterattack as the enemy takes damage. There are clubs and hammers that are far slower and heavier but deal more damage, and they have an AoE attack that damages all surrounding enemies, which I can see being pretty useful. This wooden club carried me throughout the early game. Then there are daggers, weapons with extremely short range but can attack lightning fast with its special ability being a rapid fire attack. This is easily my least favorite type since the range only makes it useful for stationary enemies that have minimal knockback so you can spam the attack button to defeat them faster. But I find it very situational. I always replace these as soon as possible. There is technically another weapon you can use in the form of the slingshot that serves as a ranged attack requiring either stone or explosive ammo to fire, but I rarely use it. It's too clunky for my liking since you stand still when aiming your attack. I suppose it could be used if you're low on health and want to be cautious, but the damage output is quite low on it, so I'd say you're fine just sticking to a sword or a club. The game tasks you with reaching level 120 of the cavern, though mining does have a very good purpose aside from gathering gems and monster materials. Using the ore you find, you can smelt the ore at a furnace to turn 5 into a single bar, and having 5 of a certain bar with enough money will allow you to upgrade your tools at the blacksmith. Granted, there is a risk when upgrading a tool since you won't have it in your inventory at all for 2 days. So you need to plan when to upgrade carefully, but when those 2 days are up, it is great feeling the difference between what you have now and what you previously had. Better axes and pickaxes will allow you to destroy tree stumps and logs as well as tougher boulders for their respective tools. The watering can and hoe upgrades are the real deal though, as both tools have their range and area of use upgraded, which is a godsend in the case of the watering can, as you can splash water all over your farm when you get the gold and eventually iridium watering can. Same does go for the hoe. The pickaxe upgrades will benefit you greatly in the long run though, since as you go deeper in the caves, the rocks become sturdier, meaning they take more hits from the pickaxe to break, and you are definitely going to need time and energy on your side if you want to make it far past floor 80. While it is technically the case for any floor of the cavern, mining is all about energy and time management, and you will definitely want a number of food items on you so you can heal and restore energy. This is what I like about mining being a thing in Stardew Valley. The rest of the game is fairly relaxed in what you do, but mining offers the tension and challenge that balances out the rest of the game and separates it from being another basic farming simulator. Definitely helped by the way mining progression is structured. Reaching level 100 of the cavern gives you one of this game's few star drops. Upon consuming one, it will permanently increase your energy level by a decent bit. They can be obtained in numerous ways, mostly in regards to mastering certain aspects of the game. It's such a euphoric feeling getting one of these. After enough days have passed and you've chipped down the cavern floors bit by bit, you'll eventually reach level 120 of the cavern and reach this mysterious chamber. There's a chest like any other, but inside this chest is the mysterious skull key. If you haven't obtained access to the desert yet, this reward may seem a tad underwhelming and a little confusing. But those who do have it, oh, those dots will start connecting, and the realization comes that it's finally time to open that door inside that cave in the desert. While it's easy to get ahead of yourself for coming this far and thinking your mining adventures have reached its conclusion, entering the skull door will hit you with the biggest sense of whiplash yet. Picture this. You go through the door, and once you're on the other side, you notice a large load of rocks and a mysterious purple number 1 at the top left of the screen. Oh, here we go again, you may be thinking. Yet as you go to mine these sturdy rocks, an intimidating serpent rapidly approaches you, and you may think you're hot stuff having a really good weapon that cleared the 120 floors of the previous cavern. But once that serpent lands an attack on you, oh god, a fifth of my health is gone. And then it hits you more and more, and suddenly you're low on health. And so, feeling unprepared, you book it out there to save yourself, barely skating by with a bleeding health bar. This is the average experience of the first time entering the Skull Cavern, or at least it was my first experience with it. As intimidating as that serpent made it, I mean, I could have still made it further, right? I have a whole new slew of floors to charge through. So, gather some food items, and maybe with a few healing items to tank the serpent damage with, you can make it to floor 5 and snag yourself that first checkpoint. That rainy day in fall comes and all your plants are already watered. It's time to get this show on the road. So, you tank your way to floor 5 and... oh, there's no checkpoint. Floor 10? No. 20? Come on, seriously? Nowhere. The Skull Cavern has 0 checkpoints, and yet the challenge of reaching floor 100 of the Skull Cavern is made apparent through expectations of the previous cavern and a secret note that you can get a chance of getting. The Skull Cavern is very much an expert challenge. It takes a far higher level of skill and knowledge to nab significant goodies from it. The enemies are harder, the rocks are harder, the location of it is all the way in the desert, meaning you have to either warp there or wait till 10 a.m. to take the bus. It's intimidating. For a while, I didn't even think it was possible, with how little time you have and the fact that there are over 100 floors to descend through with no checkpoints. However, after finding enough secret notes from the mines that hint certain details about the Stardew Valley and how to get certain rewards like cooking recipes and other special items, I eventually learned how to adapt to the Skull Cavern, and I think it's time we analyze it. The Skull Cavern needs to be approached very differently from the regular cavern. It's nearly a completely different game. One of the best pieces of advice I can give is to obtain one of Stardew Valley's best weapons. It's hinted to you when you manage to find the 4 dwarf scrolls that randomly drop from enemies. Holding a prismatic shard, the rarest mineral in the game, up to these sun pillars in the desert will transform the shard into the galaxy sword. Getting this is super cool and admittingly easy after you figure out how to get it. This makes tackling every enemy in the Skull Cavern far easier since they will only go down in a few hits. And what I mean by the Skull Cavern feeling like a completely different game is that it almost functions like a roguelike. One that, instead of prioritizing time and energy, tests your time and speed. I felt like I was playing something like The Binding of Isaac after a while. I was convinced this was an action game. Time does move slightly slower in the Skull Cavern, so that way you have enough time to make it as far as possible, but you still have a total of a little less than 18 minutes, and that's including if you warp to the desert using a desert totem. The pickaxe just won't cut it this time. It's too slow to make any significant progress with. This is when the most important mining resource comes in handy: bombs. Bombs may feel like a luxury in the regular cavern, but they are a necessity in the Skull Cavern. You need to destroy as many rocks as possible, as fast as possible, to find where the way down is. Luckily, cherry and regular bombs are easy to make on the spot since all you need is some ore and coal, and you'll be gaining a lot of ore by blowing up rocks in the right places. Mega bombs are the most useful type since they have the largest range, even though it requires a solar essence with void essence on top of gold ore in order to make. But hey, anything to find the next floor faster, I'll take it. Another useful thing for the Skull Cavern: Check the fortune teller on TV every day. The fortune teller will tell you about the moods of the spirits for the day, ranging from a horrible mood where luck will absolutely try to rip you to shreds to a great mood where luck will be on your side. It is best to go only if the spirits are in good faith for the day. I don't even do it if they're feeling neutral, that's not enough good luck. Reason being is that this will increase your chances of better item drops and floor exits being more common, especially holes which are exclusive to the Skull Cavern, sending you down anywhere from 3 to 15 floors at the cost of HP. The farther you fall, the more damage you take, but the game is luckily smart enough to where it will never kill you even if you're at 1 HP. As I mentioned before, the game encourages you to get to floor 100, but the Skull Cavern is still very much worth going to even if you don't plan on making it to the 100th floor. The further down you go, the more common it is that you'll find the best ore in the game, iridium. It's nearly exclusive to the Skull Cavern and is used for some of the most luxurious items in the game, like the best tools, iridium sprinklers that automatically water the adjacent 24 tiles, slime incubators so you can raise more slimes in a slime rancher, and fixing other certain things that I will talk about later. Luckily, even though it is advised to go into the Skull Cavern prepared, you will occasionally be rewarded along the way through the floors, much like any other roguelike. I got some very useful healing items from chests after a few floors, and that immediately increased my motivation to go down further. Heck, the further you go down, some of the enemies themselves go into their iridium or stronger forms, as iridium almost becomes just as common as iron. I feel like a demolitionist. Really, at this point in the game, time is really the biggest enemy down here, and it's because of this that it is completely addicting to play at a high skill level in the Skull Cavern. Seriously, when I'm down here, my mind is darting all over the place, finding out what rocks I need to bomb or how exactly I need to position myself when fighting enemies. Somehow, this simplistic system is pushed to the limit down here, and I never tire of wanting to try to go down even further. It is the biggest adrenaline rush when a serpent is mere inches away from taking my last bit of HP, and I manage to scroll over to the last healing items I have just in time to get back to a normal amount of HP. This may be easier for some people, but as someone that tends to struggle multitasking between selecting things in an inventory and surviving in real time, this is easily the most intense part of the whole game, and it's one of those extra things that pushes Stardew Valley to be truly special. Oh gosh, I got so invested in the Skull Cavern that I completely lost track of time. The Stardew Valley Fair is happening. This is one of the more unique events in the game, as before it begins, you're requested to bring 9 items that showcase your progress over the year, as a number of other people are competing to see who has the best display. Winning this gives you star tokens, the currency of this event. Aside from the showcase, you can gain star tokens by playing a variety of mini-games, ranging from fishing, to gambling, to buying them outright. Wait, that's not a mini-game. In a slingshot target game, which is how I usually get the most star tokens. This event lasting all day means I get to master this minigame and get 500 star tokens every time. Then I buy everything in the star token shop, including the luxurious star drop. In this event, there's also a fortune teller, and Gus gives out free burgers. And you know me, I love free burgers. This is one of the few events actually where you can leave whenever you want, and there's no major cutscene that happens. Just see what there is to offer and leave when you're ready. Kinda like an actual event. I hope your spirits are in check though, because the second to last day of Fall houses Spirits Eve. This is basically the Halloween event. You can also leave this event whenever you want, but you're primarily going to want to venture through this haunted maze with twists, turns, and deceptions on how to make it through. And at the end, there's a solid reward waiting. On the first and every other year, it's the Golden Pumpkin, which can either be sold or gifted to someone. And every even year, you'll get a prize ticket. The Spirits Eve festivities are fun, but the chills of the most game-changing season approaches. Winter is the most fascinating season in Stardew Valley, as it's the season where your animals will stay inside due to the cold weather and the fact that no crops are being sold by Pierre. There's hardly any crops you can grow in winter outside of a greenhouse, though you can still grow the season's foraging item and another type of seed exclusive to winter, but that's about it. Instead of rain being the alternative weather condition, it will occasionally snow, which doesn't really have any effect aside from it looking very nice and wintry. The year is slowly coming to an end, and the holidays are starting to roll into Pelican Town. It has almost been a full year since your arrival in Stardew Valley, and by now, I bet you've come to know a good amount about the characters that live here by building your relationships with them. Yes, of course, one of the key reasons your character moved to Stardew Valley in the first place is to form connections with people, and that's exactly what you can do. From the start of the game, you are encouraged to give someone a gift to help boost your friendship level with them. Gifting someone an item is one of the most effective ways to build up your relationship with them. Of course, you can't do this without any thought put into it. Every character has a list of items they love, like, dislike, hate, or feel completely neutral about. Gifting items they love will boost your friendship with them the fastest, while giving them items they hate does the exact opposite. The thing is, you can only give an NPC 2 items a week, and the gift counter resets on Sunday. I can see this being done to avoid players spamming their favorite character with items to guess which one is their favorite. It isn't stated to you directly what their favorites are, but there are numerous hints throughout the world via secret messages, other characters' dialogue, or even their own dialogue that can cue you into what their favorites are, or sometimes what they absolutely hate. Luckily, you can also talk to an NPC daily to boost your friendship with them, but it isn't as effective as gift giving, though it has helped me gain a hardened friendship status before. Speaking of which, your friendship points are invisible, but your overall status is displayed via 10 hearts that will fill up as you grow closer to a person. Though for the spouses, 2 of them are unobtainable at first, and I'll get into why in a second. Those are the 2 primary ways to gain friendship with other characters, but doing certain things around the town will also help gain other people's respect, which does make sense. Doing certain quests themed around them can boost your friendship with them a little bit. Another thing is that the luau can help gain friendship points across the town if you make a good enough soup with the ingredient that you brought. The higher the friendship level you are with someone, the more benefits you'll gain. For example, getting 2 hearts with anyone will allow you to walk into their room uninvited. Kinda a strange thing for an apprentice to do, but hey, I guess Stardew Valley is very socially accepting. Characters will even start sending you mail with gifts after a while when you become good friends with them, so that's always a nice benefit. Though one of the largest rewards of becoming friends with the characters is to see how their own personal story progresses. When reaching specific levels with a character, going to a certain spot at a certain time will initiate a heart event. Cutscenes where you and the character have a little moment together, or have a problem of theirs that you need to solve, and your dialogue choice options affect the outcome of said event. Heck, depending on what options you pick, the character will either like you more or less depending on what you do in the scenario. These events are especially important when it comes to the 12 spouse characters in the game. These 12 characters are 6 male and 6 female characters that you are actually allowed to form a romantic relationship with. Whatever characters you choose to invest in, it's always a joy participating in whatever character journey they're on. You can explore some of their hobbies, watch as they complete some of their projects, or even just grow to be a better person. I always savor these moments with these characters, even if the event just has you doing something rather minor. It reminds me of moments I cherished with other people during conversations in the past, and the music during some of these hard events really tug at my heartstrings. This is without a doubt one of my favorite tracks in the whole game. It makes me think back on the moments I savored with other people, no matter how small. Moments in time where we just took in the environment and made that an atmosphere for deep bonding conversations, even if the talks themselves were about unimportant things. I would always cherish sitting on the front porch with my cousins whenever they visited and simply talk about our lives, what our school days are like, and what crazy shenanigans we've gotten into. I would always get a massive kick out of sharing a room with 2 of my siblings on a bunk bed, and each night we would talk about what's been going on in our social lives, what all of our friends are up to, or laugh at some of the crazy stuff on social media. A lot of times, I didn't even engage in the conversation, much like the silent protagonist in Stardew Valley. I just enjoyed the wacky conversation going on. I see myself exploring these memories from time to time, picturing myself looking at the stars like I would often do when sitting on the porch with my cousin. Reminds me a lot of some of these hard events, like looking up at the stars with Maru and pondering where we'll be several centuries from now, or playing an instrument in the rain with Abigail. Shane in particular has a very significant character arc, one that touches on many dark themes. Here's the thing. If you get a character to 8 hearts, you can purchase a bouquet from Pierre's to present to your romantic interest, and they can become your boyfriend or girlfriend, no matter what gender. And the last 2 hearts will become revealed for said character, allowing you to bond with them even further. Once you reach 10 hearts with an individual, they'll usually send you a letter to meet you at a certain place since they want to see you. And what occurs is usually a romantic event, like hiding out in a tent with Emily or confessing your feelings to one another with Penny in the hot tub. Not only that, but reaching 10 hearts and upgrading your house once will open you up to marriage, as across this bridge on rainy days is a man that sells you a mermaid pendant used to propose to your significant other. And if all goes well, you'll be happily wed after 3 days, and your wife or husband will now live with you on your farm. Despite this being an excuse to get to smooch your favorite spouse every morning, your wife or husband actually comes with their own benefits for living with you. Like occasionally they'll get up early and feed your animals, or sometimes they'll even water the majority of your crops for you, which is extremely helpful on certain days. It's random when it can happen, but when it does, you will never regret having wed ever again. Being married also boosts the heart count to 14, so there's incentive to treat your wife or husband well even after marriage. And there's even a 14 heart event when you reach the max heart level. This goes even further if you're married long enough to have a child together. I just really pray you don't cheat on your significant other because, well, yeah, that'd be pretty mean. As the game goes on, there are more characters that do show up around Stardew Valley. For one, Sam and Vincent's father, Kent, shows up after the first year of Stardew Valley, returning after serving in the military. There's also a dwarf in the caves that you can uncover by upgrading to a steel pickaxe. He speaks in a different language, but you can still treat him like a friend. And most significantly, you can find a key to the sewers by donating enough items to the museum and find an NPC there named Krobus, who has the most ridiculous shop in the game, but you can still build your friendship with him regardless. In hindsight, it may seem a little strange that bonding with people in Stardew Valley basically rounds up to giving NPCs their favorite gifts over and over, but when you come to think about it, it's only like that when looking at the game's wiki to see what the favorite items are for every NPC. Much like talking to people in real life, you'll actually come to learn of their favorite and least favorite things through conversation, or finding them through a secret note or something, but that's besides the point. You'll come to find out that Abigail, for example, loves pumpkins when talking to her in the fall. Shane very much enjoys beer, though that's maybe a bit obvious. Becoming part of a community is one of the most thematic aspects of Stardew Valley, and you really start to feel like you belong in this town when bonding with all the characters and helping them with their problems. It's easy to refer to them as NPCs, but they all feel like people that play a key role in making Pelican Town what it is. And your friendship and knowledge of all the characters will benefit you greatly in the last event of the year. Not this next event though, this one is just an ice fishing tourney to see who can catch the most fish in the ice before time runs out. It's a simple challenge, though it reminds me of the egg hunt challenge back in the beginning of the game where you had to get the largest amount of something in order to win. Next up is a sort of mini event that actually goes on for 3 days. Down the beach there's a night market that appears that has unique items for sale, including items not from the current season, a submarine that lets you catch some very unique fish underwater, and there's also a little mermaid opera that is here for a neat spectacle. The thing is with this event though, and why it goes on for 3 days, is that it takes place at night and the clock still moves. So you'll need to make enough time to watch the opera or go fishing for deep sea creatures. Luckily, the running back to the farm portion is removed since this fellow right here offers a warp back to the farm instantly for a very low price, much like using a totem. Though don't resurface the submarine at the last second though, because it takes around an in-game minute for the sub to come out of the water once you're ready to head back up. And then, the 25th is the most wondrous time of the year, the Feast of the Winter Star. In this hybrid between Thanksgiving and the holidays, the primary event is giving a secret friend a gift that they really like. In return, well, someone else that had you as their secret friend will give you a gift, which in my case, Shane gave me 10 deluxe speed grows. Pretty helpful. With the end of the Feast of the Winter Star, the last 3 days of winter can be spent tidying up every last thing you can, as the game's full seasonal rotation will come to its first end. A lot can happen in the first year of Stardew Valley, and as year 2 strikes, the game is far more familiar to you, so there's far more knowledge on how to tackle the upcoming seasons. By this point, you'll likely have learned how to finish the community center to finally put the Joja Mart out of business and make the town livelier than it's ever been, unlock the sewers to meet Krobus, reach the farthest level in the skull mines you can, have truckloads of iridium, and much, much more. Over the course of year 2, even more opportunities and challenges will come your way. Just to name a few, being wed long enough and having a fully upgraded house will allow you to have a child with your spouse to not only grow your farm, but grow a family on said farm. A true sign to show what all you've experienced and done when taking the step past the corporate life you once lived. After completing the community center, Joja Mart will go out of business and the Junimos will go to what remains of the building to grant one final bundle to complete. This bundle is no slouch, requiring some of the rarest and hardest to obtain items in the whole game. Obtaining a prismatic shard, growing 5 quality ancient fruit, which takes a good while to do, getting a silver quality wine, a super rare fish, a caviar, there's dinosaur mayonnaise, it's pretty crazy. There is a large new portion of the game that I want to talk about though. Shortly after completing the community center, you'll finally gain access to the back room in Willie's shop, where he hides a busted up ship that, with enough iridium, hardwood, and battery packs, you can fix to set sail to Ginger Island. Let me tell you, Ginger Island feels like a completely different game in comparison to setting foot in any other area in the game, even the Skull Cavern. The area is quite large, and much like in the Stardew Valley, there's a lot of things that need fixing regarding this place, like busted bridges, destroyed buildings, the works. It's made clear that currency on this island is different as the game leads you into the deep forest to obtain a golden walnut, which, once you've gained this boy's trust, you can collect more golden walnuts to give to the parrots to scare off tortoises blocking paths and rebuild parts of this island. There's so much to do here that there's a gift box off to the side containing 3 tents to signal to the player, yeah, you're gonna be here a while. You can even build a house so you can make a whole living on Ginger Island as opposed to your house on Stardew Valley. Though who knows what would become of your farm and your animals on said farm. They'd probably be incredibly unhappy without you. There's a quest with this lady who washed up on shore many years ago and lost her husband, a professor seeking the bones of different creatures similar to the museum back on Stardew Valley, a locked door containing someone looking for a seasoned gold walnut finder, requiring that you found 100 of the things to open it, and yeah, multiple scattered gold walnuts across the island that you can find through navigational puzzles, destroying certain objects or parts of the ground, and they occasionally drop from enemies. Yeah, speaking of enemies, one of the key landmarks on this island is the volcano. A 10-floor dungeon containing vicious enemies, new materials, and a lot of lava where you can finally use the watering can in a more creative way by making a bridge on the lava by splashing water all over it, which gives it a very interesting navigational use. While the volcano may only be 10 floors in size, each room is massive and tests your navigational capabilities rather than your mining capabilities as you search for a way up to the next floor across the cave, sometimes even requiring that you push a button in order to open the way to the next floor. It's a nice change of pace that makes room for more dungeon-like challenges as opposed to just having combat. Reaching the top is pure euphoria though, as you're granted a prismatic shard, a golden walnut, a shortcut that leads you up here without having to go through the volcano again, and most importantly, a giant forge allowing you to enhance your tools and rings using certain materials and cinder shards found throughout the volcano. In a way, this forge functions similar to an enchantment table in Minecraft, requiring a number of materials to grant a special buff to your weapon. Or, with the right combination, you can make an entirely new tool. I said the Galaxy Sword was the best sword in the game, but with it and a number of extremely rare materials you can get, you can form an even better sword alongside better versions of the other Galaxy weapons. And I still have yet to forge it myself, and I still have yet to fully upgrade the beach house, or build a resort for everyone, or enter that gold walnut door. There's still a lot for me to do. But isn't having a list of goals yet to be overcome a part of an exciting life? During the dawn of year 3, the spirit of your grandfather will come and visit you one last time. He'll evaluate your progress and your farm and congratulate you for how far you've come since reading that letter on that life-changing day. He passes off the future of the farm in your hands. Depending on if you pass the best evaluation or not, all 4 candles near his shrine will be lit, and you can obtain the Statue of Perfection, which generates free iridium. What Grandpa said before he departed was true though. The future is in your hands. There's still a lot left that you can do. There is not a definitive ending to Stardew Valley. You could finish the community center, completely fund Joja Mart, please your grandpa, have a healthy family, turn Ginger Island to a paradise, obtain the best weapon in the game. There is not an end credits scene in this game. Well, unless you achieve true perfection by 100%ing the game, but I don't want to feel inclined to do every single little thing in this game in order to get the most out of it. Even if you do the absolute bare minimum with your farm by the time Grandpa meets you again, he isn't upset or angry with you. He's just simply happy that you're enjoying your life. And that's what matters. Stardew Valley is a game about making the most of what you want to do out of life and enjoying it. Whatever direction you decide to go in isn't demonized or less valid than the other, as long as what you're working towards makes you feel accomplished and happy. No matter what you do in the game, you will be rewarded for it, whether it be new areas, large amounts of cash, a new tool for you to use, better friendship with the town. Heck, even if you make every spouse of said gender completely angry by being a cruel person and cheating on everyone, you're at least shown a cutscene for it. Despite 100% completion being very apparent, it's still just another thing to work towards in the game. A game shouldn't be able to be enjoyed only if completing every task that is laid out for you to do. Stardew Valley is more than happy with the amount of time that you decide to put into it. That's why it's about enjoying and being satisfied with what you personally want to accomplish. In life, I never feel the need to set out for the best world record in whatever skill or activity I choose to partake in. I'm simply just satisfied with doing the best I'm able to do within my capabilities. I don't need to experience every piece of media or go to every location in the world to make the most out of my life. I'm just satisfied with what I have. This is why I and many other people resonate with Stardew Valley. It's a journey of its own, just like your best life you can live is.